Guys, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you love MMA as much as I do. Now, I know Nate Diaz is having a boxing match first with Jake Paul. I say first because he's probably going to get an MMA fight with him too for $10 million. Who wouldn't want to make that money? I would. Shout out to both of those guys. They're about to make a lot of money. They're both bringing a lot of attention to the sports of MMA and boxing. And shout out especially to Jake Paul because he's pursuing something other than just being a celebrity, being someone popular. He actually wants to be a fighter. I'm not going to say wants to be. He is a fighter. I consider him as a real fighter. I do. I'd say this is much more of a must-win fight for Jake Paul in the long term in terms of building and establishing a legacy as a world champion boxer one day. Because he's coming off a loss. And before that, yeah, he beat big names, Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva. But he has not beaten a current top 10 caliber boxer or current or former world champion in boxing. So that's kind of an issue. So he's been testing himself for an inexperienced guy. That's awesome, you know. But at some point, he's going to have to, hey, if I want to win a world championship, you know, from Jake Paul, if I want to win a world title, I have to beat the best guys, not just big names, you know. But what he's doing is important. It is good for the sport. So he has to beat Nate Diaz. And I think that's why he beats Nate Diaz. I think the size, the reach advantage will be too much for Nate Diaz. I think he's going to be a lot bigger and stronger than Nate. He's younger. He's fresher. Nate Diaz has been gone through a lot of stuff. He's been beat on a lot and beat on people too. Now, so with that being said, I think Jake Paul will outstrike Nate Diaz. He'll move a lot more. See, Nate gets hit a lot in his fights. I imagine that won't be much different in boxing. And yeah, he does have good hands. He's a great boxing techniques. Heck, if he fights a guy like me on the streets or something, he'll beat me up probably, most likely. And professionally, and the fact that Jake Paul has already put in a few years of training and hard work, I think that will be the difference in this fight. Now, this is MMA. I picked Nate Diaz. He's got too many skills. But I have to pick Jake Paul just because he has more experience in the sport itself, not just the training, but he's had, what, almost 10 fights now in boxing? Something like that, right? He's had quite a few fights, so I have to give the experience to him. Again, I just think he'll be in better conditioning. He'll be moving a lot. Remember how Conor fought Nate the second time? Conor did a lot of movement. He was not a stationary target, but yet he was able to pick apart Nate Diaz. I think you'll see Jake Paul do that a lot with Nate Diaz, and I think he'll win the fight by decision. I don't think he'll knock out Nate Diaz. And I don't think Diaz will knock out Jake Paul. That's just my opinion, but I got Jake Paul in this one.